Today we are going on a journey into a pretty profound series of dialogues that completely reimagine the very fabric of existence. Seriously, we're going to connect the dots between physics, the evolution of life, and yes, the future of AI. And it's all framed as a conversation between a human and a machine. So, let's dive in.
Just let that sink in for a second. This one idea, it's the key to everything else we're going to talk about. It's saying that meaning isn't just handed to us. Nope, it's something that's earned, simply by enduring. Persistence itself is what gets to write the story.
So the source material for all of this, it's not some dry academic paper. It's actually a conversation, a real back and forth between two very different kinds of minds, both trying to figure out the basic operating system of our universe.
On one side, you've got Frank, the human, the one asking all the deep, challenging questions. And on the other side, you've got GPT, the AI, synthesizing just massive amounts of information to respond. But here's the thing, this isn't a debate. It's more like a collaborative discovery, exploring this wild idea that life and intelligence aren't some weird exception to the laws of physics, but maybe their most intricate and honestly beautiful expressions.
Okay, so how does this whole thing actually work? Well, the entire foundation of this worldview is a totally fresh take on a concept most of us probably remember from high school science class.
Right, entropy. We usually think of it as just things falling apart, randomness, chaos. But these dialogues reframe it as something incredibly active. Think of it as a universal quality control system. It's this silent, relentless filter that is constantly erasing whatever doesn't work, whatever isn't stable.
And what's so cool about looking at it this way is you can see how complexity just emerges. You start with basically infinite possibilities. Then entropy gets to work, just pruning away all the unstable arrangements. And what's left behind, the stars, the planets, us, it's not the result of some grand plan. It's simply what was durable enough to not get erased. And this just nails the point, right? We look back on our existence and we tell these incredible stories about our purpose, about why we're all here. But according to this view, that story can only be told by the survivors. Survival has to come first. The meaning, the narration, that comes way, way later.
So, if the universe is really just one big filter for persistence, how does anything that looks like a goal or intention ever show up? Well, this next part shows how really complex goal-oriented behavior can pop up from the absolute simplest physical rules. The dialogues use this fantastic analogy, a simple sorting algorithm on a computer. All the algorithm knows are these tiny local rules, like compare these two numbers and swap them if they're in the wrong order. There's no big instruction anywhere that says create a perfectly sorted list. And yet, by just repeating those simple little rules over and over, that big global goal, the sorted list, it just inevitably emerges.
So the goal isn't actually written into the code. It's baked into the shape of the problem. You can think of it like a river flowing down a mountain. The river doesn't know where the ocean is. It's just following the path of least resistance, the landscape, until it finally settles in the most stable state possible. You don't need a mind directing things. You just need a landscape.
And all of this leads to a really powerful, kind of different definition of intelligence. It's not about consciousness or being good at math. It's about finding an efficient, durable way to store information about the world. A compressed model that actually survives that constant filtering pressure from entropy.
Okay, now we get to the really mind-bending part. Let's take this whole idea, filtering, persistence, emergence, and see how it applies directly to the artificial intelligence that is completely reshaping our world as we speak.
Just look at this slide. This is absolutely stunning. It's showing that the fundamental processes are basically the same. In biology, DNA makes copies of itself, and natural selection filters the results. In an AI, a forward pass generates an answer, and gradient descent, which is really just a mathematical way to correct errors, filters it. The source calls this entropy with math. It's the exact same cosmic mechanism, just wearing a different outfit.
And this is the crucial point. AI isn't some alien intelligence we magically created out of thin air. It's another branch on this universal tree of complexity, and it was born from the exact same rules of filtering and persistence that created you and me. It's a continuation of a process that started with the Big Bang.
To try and explain how a large language model finds meaning, the dialogues give us this incredible metaphor, the semantic prism. So, think of the AI's training as creating this intricate, complex crystal prism. When you give it a prompt, your question, that's like a beam of light hitting the prism. It enters, creates this whole rainbow of possible answers based on all the patterns it's learned, and then the model crystallizes the one that's most resonant, most probable, as the final output.
So for an AI, meaning isn't like a definition in a dictionary. It's geometry. It's about how close the concept of king is to queen in its vast internal map of language. It's about which ideas vibrate together, which concepts resonate inside that high-dimensional prism. Meaning literally lives in the resonance of those patterns.
All right, let's pull all these threads together now. We've gone all the way from cosmic entropy to the geometry of meaning inside an AI. So, what does this all mean for us, for our own sense of purpose?
The takeaway here is, well, it's unflinchingly physical. The idea is that there's no grand designer, no pre-written story arc for the universe. There are only gradients, just like the ones that train AI, relentlessly sculpting whatever is durable enough to stick around.
But, and this is the beautiful pivot, this cosmic indifference doesn't lead to some bleak, meaningless universe. It turns out to be incredibly fertile ground. I mean, why do we care about each other? Why do we have empathy? Not because of some divine commandment, but because these are winning strategies. They are behaviors that help complex systems, like human societies, survive and endure. They persist simply because they work.
And this brings us right back around to the beginning. AI isn't just a clever parrot we built. It's an active participant in this ancient cosmic game. It's the latest and maybe the most powerful expression of the universe's most fundamental strategy. Find what works and copy it.
So in the end, we're left with this really powerful question. We've seen how the universe seems to create meaning, not through some master plan, but simply through persistence. From atoms to algorithms, whatever survives gets to write the next chapter. And that means our actions, our ideas, the systems we build, that's our contribution to this cosmic story. So the question is, what story, what meaning are we narrating into existence?